Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's another edition of Let's Talk Broncos. Zach and Bree are not here again. I don't know what's up, but this is what we have going on. I thought it'd be interesting to have Frankie on last time, Robbie on this time. I want the whole spectrum. I want everything involved. Bo Nix. This is the most interesting topic in Broncos country right now. So, Robbie, thanks for coming on today, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. I'm excited to be on. Thank you for having me.
And please, everybody, go follow Robbie. Please. Like, if you are not, I don't know how many times we have to shout Robbie out here on this podcast. Is Robbie underscore NFL. For my money, the best quarterback evaluator in the entire Broncos country. I think he's terrific. He's amazing. So make sure you guys go follow Robbie like right now if you aren't. He's breaking down stuff all the time. He was on the Bo Nix stuff. This is something I don't even know if people really even give you credit for anymore. At the time, people were giving Robbie hate, right? They were giving Robbie a lot of hate because people did not like Bo Nix. They did not like him at all. I was one of them. I wasn't hating on Robbie, but I was one of them that didn't like him. Anyways, you got a lot of hate. Nowadays, everyone wants to see it propped up, and when Robbie has his little critiques, y'all hate again. He can't do right.
No, man, I got the hate for liking him. Now I get the hate for being too, objective. So,
It's crazy.
it's crazy, man.
You can't do right. You can't do right in Broncos country. Please go show Robbie some love. This is proof that he is being an objective analyst in this whole scape. When the same people that loved you back then hate you now, it's like, oh, just because I have a little critique, I don't know. So, anyways, make sure you're following Robbie. Like I said, we're going to be talking Bo Nix today. We're going to get into our bold predictions as well as I know that's why a lot of you are here. We do this every Wednesday. But starting off with Bo Nix, Robbie, there was a lot. I just feel like national media this offseason, right? The scouting reports I was reading, what I was even hearing when I went to Senior Bowl, it felt like the consensus opinion on Bo Nix was, hey, he's an older prospect. He's refined. Yeah, I think he's going to be cool, but he might be more of a backup level quarterback that's just really refined, but doesn't have a high ceiling. I feel like from what I've seen from Bo Nix right now, it's been completely different. It feels like this is a guy that needs refinement, yet he has all the tools. That's what I'm personally seeing. I'm just curious where you think people got that wrong this offseason. Were you more in that line? Is this what you expected from Bo Nix? Just that kind of question.
So it's really weird. And a lot of people seem to have just jumped on the trope pre-draft that since this quarterback has X amount of starts in college, he's closer to his ceiling than another quarterback would be if he was more green, as you could say, in college. And I really disagree with that because, in my opinion, we can't have these conversations about how different the NFL and college is every single year for the draft and then turn around and say that because somebody played so much in college that they're closer to their NFL ceiling. Because, again, the games are so different. Like, an NFL pocket is not a college pocket. The college processing is not NFL processing. And when I say that, I mean the concepts are different. Not a lot of college teams are teaching the pre-snap reads as an NFL system would. Traditionally it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have your check down. In college, you'll see a lot of half field read, you'll see a lot of one read, and you'll see a lot of sight adjusts in college in sort of the pro systems that you don't see as much in the NFL game. So I don't think it's fair to say that because somebody has played so many starts in college that they're closer to their ceiling when it comes to their NFL projecting their NFL outlook.
Yeah.
Because again, it's just such a different game. And as far as where I thought Bo would be, or if this is what I would think that he would be at this point in his career, it's weird because, like you said, he does not look like the guy who we watched pre-draft, and that's not a negative thing. It's just like a different player. We're seeing someone who is learning more every single week, and you can tangibly see that. You can see the subtle improvements in his game, whether it be from the arm angles or his lower half mechanics or play inside of the pocket. You're seeing gradual improvement. And not only that, but we're seeing a lot of playmaking and athleticism and working outside of structure that was a huge question mark, and sometimes just not even on his college tape at all. So in that sense, he's a lot different than what I expected him to be, but in line with some of the things that people were saying pre-draft and thinking that he would come out a lot more refined and with a higher floor. I didn't think that would be the case. I thought we'd see, the traditional rookie struggles just like any other quarterback, regardless of how many college starts they've had. So he's more or less in line with what I expected going into the season.
Yeah, I think I agree, and I think your 2 points, your first 2 points, one being that Bo Nix is a little different than what you anticipated him being, and then also the college offenses are so different than NFL offenses. Those things kind of go hand in hand, right? You're seeing a different quarterback than we saw in college because college is so different than the NFL. It's hard to evaluate college quarterbacks. It really is. That's why there's so many busts at that position every single year. It doesn't matter what year it is. You're going to see a ton of busts. It's not just teams saying, "Hey, I really need a quarterback. I'm going to go out and reach for one." There definitely is that, but also in that is, I mean, hey, we all thought the Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, that draft was going to be like the greatest thing we've ever seen. And it hasn't turned out that way. Exactly. Me too. I was big Justin Fields. Huge. But no, those two things go hand in hand. To me, it's even more interesting because we saw Bo Nix in two different college offenses, and I feel like I saw two different versions of Bo Nix in that too. Honestly, it feels like it's married kind of in between the version I feel like I'm getting right now. I'm seeing a lot more of the playmaking ability than what I saw at Oregon right now. And that's something we saw at Auburn. But I'm also not seeing as many sporadic plays. Honestly, sometimes I just want him to pull the trigger in the NFL. Whereas at Auburn, he was pulling the trigger in situations where I felt like he shouldn't. So it's kind of a marriage there. And we're just seeing a completely different version of Bo Nix than I anticipated, but nonetheless, I think everyone was wrong. All you people out there that were saying it was the low ceiling play, no, he's only making money on big plays right now. It feels like so. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Anyways, what is the major concern you have? What is the number one concern you have, Robbie, for Bo Nix at this moment? It is like, or the area you most want to see improvement in, I guess.
Yeah, so the area I want to see the most improvement in, and it's something that we're seeing some more improvement in as the weeks go on. Like against Carolina, he was really good at it. In the first half against Baltimore, he was good at it, but the second half, it really got out of hand. So I don't know what you can take away from that, but just a willingness to play within structure. And what I mean by that is just the pocket footwork, man.
Yeah.
Just the pocket footwork. We're seeing so many times where he's speeding up his process or he's getting jittery in the pocket and leading to misfires and he's sailing throws. And I put out a tweet a few weeks ago and I got some pushback on it because it was right after the Saints game, after those two really bad misses on the first drive where when he has a good base and when he can get to a good throwing base, he's very accurate. He's the accurate quarterback that we thought we would get out of Oregon. He's that accurate guy. When he starts to speed up his processing and when he starts to, get happy feet and he doesn't get a firm foot strike is when he's inaccurate. And I feel like that's easier to fix than just a general accuracy issue.
Right.
Not saying it's an easy fix, but relative to accuracy issues league wide, if your guy is just not accurate, that's a bad thing. And that's a really, really hard thing to fix. And we see so many quarterbacks not fix that throughout their career. But with Bo Nix, it's more of a footwork issue leading to the accuracy. Like when he gets these quick feet and he can't just stay in the pocket, he's having to throw these throws and they're all arm throws. He's not getting a good base and he's not getting his lower half or that kinetic movement from his lower half. So it's just all leaning on his arm. And that's why we see some of the sails or some of the underthrows. So that's really the area where I want to see most improvement in. And again, we're seeing some improvement in it. Like Carolina, that he was like automatic. He was automatic in the pocket against Carolina. He was taking his dropbacks 1, 2, 3, boom. It was perfect pretty much for the entire game. It was perfect. For the first half against Baltimore, it was good as well. You know, he had the 2 big misses to Franklin, and he had one to Lil Jordan Humphrey in the red zone that could have been touchdowns. Obviously, you want those back. But he was really calm, and he was playing really well in the first half of that game.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some really good points. It's been kind of, it feels like it goes up. It feels like we're trending up with Bo Nix, in my opinion. It does feel like that, although the second half of this last game was really tough to watch. But still, the second half of Bo Nix I saw in this last game was the entire game for the first 3 I saw. So we're still trending upwards, I think. Especially coming off that Carolina game. Like, we are seeing a different version of Bo Nix. This is something I was a little concerned about, specifically his pocket feel, Robbie. I even remember messaging you about this because I was thinking in my head, like, is this something you can improve on midseason? And just as someone who likes watching the game and trying to figure out how players can improve and what they do, I'm always interested in traits that you can develop in season versus in the off season. And pocket feel is kind of one of those ones where I don't even know if that's like a developmental trait. It was hard for me to gauge that. So it's been promising seeing him like at least work the pocket a little better. I don't know. His footwork, like in the preseason, how many times, I forget which game it was. It's probably all of them, if I'm being honest, where he just runs straight up into the pocket instead of just taking a step up. It was like a dead sprint, like I'm running a 40-yard dash up this fucking pocket type shit. Like, and I feel like I'm seeing less of it. I don't know. So it's interesting to see. It is really interesting to see. But going to that, how much of this is this just like something you improve upon with more reps? Or is this something he always was and he was kind of just out of pocket early in the game, just like nervousness, anxiousness? I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of this can be improved upon. And I think it's one of those traits where you can see gradual improvement from it with more reps you have. And to your point about whether it be in season or off season, I think it's possible to improve upon things like that in season because there are drills to do. It's just harder to consistently access those parts of the game during the season because, you know, we all know these practices and these walkthroughs, they're all about concepts. They're all about the offense and timing of different plays and all these different things. There isn't as much time for individual drills as there is in the off season. So I think it's more of a focal point in the off season, but it can be improved upon during the season. And we're seeing a little bit of it throughout the season now, like weeks 1 through 4 and weeks 5 through 9. It looks like Nix is not a completely different player, but he looks like a different player. Like we're seeing he's a lot more grounded in a lot of areas of his game. And it feels like, you know, since we're seeing that improvement, that it's a trait that we can see in him and we can see improve throughout the season.
Okay. I like that answer. That gets me optimistic, Robbie. I like it. This is what we want to hear. D Bronx comes in. He has a really good question just going off of the footwork, Robbie. He said, speaking of his feet in the pocket, feels like Payton rarely acknowledges it. Do you think Payton isn't actually concerned with it, or is he just trying not to tear down his guy publicly? What do you think there? It's always interesting because there is such thing as coach speak if people don't realize. It happens every single time. Like whatever Sean Payton says to the media, you get honestly, if you listen to him enough, I feel like you can start to hear what's truthful, what's reactionary, and that's truth, or what's game plan for. Yeah, you can hear it. Like go and listen to his Chase Daniel interview this offseason. This was truthful Sean Payton, in my opinion. Go listen to any of the pressers in training camp. It was like, I'm up here just lying. You could tell. So was this coach talk or is he just holding it back, like not caring, coach talk type stuff? What do you think?
I think it's just coach speak. Like, you know, Sean Payton is one of the more traditional coaches in the NFL right now, one of the more old school coaches. As some of these other guys kind of phase out of the league, he's still here. So you're going to get the generic coach speak in every single presser of his. Yeah. And like Not to say that everybody knows as much as an NFL coach, but this is something everybody sees on his tape. You can clearly see him have these little jittery moments in the pocket. So it's not like we're just making things up or anybody is making things up. The announcers talk about it on the broadcast. Every analyst mentions it when they turn on Denver's tape. So it's definitely there. I think Payton is just, doing a good job of being a coach and being a quarterback coach and not doing that publicly.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's every coach in the league does this, by the way. All of them do. They're
Yep.
going to try to hold the players back that they like. And maybe if a player does something completely out of line, I have to check it in a post game. Most of the time, even though that's wrong. Yeah, I don't want my coach going out there and just lighting my players up to the media. We can handle that inside the building. It doesn't have to be to the media. I'm not trying to diminish his confidence at all in this game, especially with the rookie quarterback. I'm trying to build upon it. So I'm going to put it on everything else because you're the most important piece here. It's not going to be you. You're not the problem. Going back to your last point before this, though, Frankie or Robbie, you had me optimistic. So I want to ask you, should I be optimistic about Bo Nix? Should I still be really happy about this, or am I like, do we have a franchise quarterback?
I think you definitely should be optimistic, and I think a lot of Broncos fans should be optimistic because if this is the worst we're going to see from Bo Nix, while yes, it isn't necessarily good, it's definitely not great, but there are areas of his game that you can take and really look at under a microscope and say, okay, this kid is good at this. And he's very good at this. One area is the pressure to sack ratio. He is very good at turning pressures into a throwaway or a check down or a big play down the field instead of a sack. We all saw it last year. We've seen it pretty much every single year since 2015 where, any hint of pressure and any flash of color is a sack. Or a sack or a throwaway. It's one or the other every single time. But with Nix, he's turning some of these plays into first downs. He's finding a guy down the field. He's scrambling for a first down. He's doing all these little things. Like in the first half, the big gainer to Javonte was a perfect example of that.
Yep.
He had pressure up the middle. He scrambles outside the pocket and he finds Javonte across his body, but he finds the open guy after the initial slight of pressure. So if you can really just examine areas of his game like that, and just if this is the worst he's going to be and there's still good moments like this, I think you can be very optimistic, especially when you consider the fact that he's getting better. I believe Pro Football Focus just put out, I believe it was yesterday, that he's top 3 in turnover worthy play percentage. So he's one of the safer quarterbacks in the league with the football. Yeah. But he's also finding these big plays and he's big play hunting, which was a huge question mark for him coming into the season. Like he's one of the better quarterbacks when it comes to explosive. I think he has I don't want to misquote it, but I think it's 30 explosive plays so far, 30, 33. And the only guy who has more than him is Lamar Jackson, who seems to be the leading MVP candidate. So there are definite areas of his game where you can just take and put under a microscope and say, okay, he's very good at this so far. So if this is the worst he's going to be, you definitely could be and should be optimistic about finding your franchise guy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And Statman, aka Zach Seegers, it was 33 plays of 20 plus yards, second to the NFL, only to Lamar Jackson, which is really crazy because that was a big talking point for everybody and why even some they thought he was more I think unathletic than he's turned out to be. And I also think that they just thought he was kind of like a check down merchant type dude was the case on him, or that's what everyone would say. Should be talked about more that he's nothing like anybody was talking about. So yeah, no, I think that's great. I'm excited about Bo Nix's future here in Denver. Sometimes I do think my list is a little skewed, Robbie, because my S tier is like Teddy Bridgewater. So
mine too. I miss Teddy every day, man.
like it's I don't know exactly like what I'm doing like half the time. So I don't know, but so far so good based off what I've seen, me personally. So yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna. I think there's a realistic shot that the Broncos found themselves a franchise quarterback. I'm not going to put it all out there and be like, hey, this is the franchise quarterback, but I do think there's a realistic path to it becoming that. I'm definitely not throwing it out either. It's a lot of I don't know. He hasn't completely shit the bed where I'm like, this guy sucks. He hasn't done that yet. The explosive plays, the athleticism, stuff like that, and then plus what I saw in college film with the accuracy, and I just am looking for a little more of that. Comes with footwork. I think he has the makings to be. It has a path at least. Anyways, I want to move into the bold predictions. We're going to be talking about this upcoming game against the Chiefs. We finally got a win last season, Robbie. I still feel like we haven't, though. I still got that chip on my shoulder. Like that did not happen last year. I'm still going into this feeling like we got to beat them. Right. No matter what. If Sean could do that 2 seasons in a row, we might have to build the statue. I don't know.
We might have to. We really might. Nobody beats us 17 times in a row.
Never that. Anyways, give me your bold prediction to start with. I'll just let you know if I think it's ridiculous or not.
Yeah, this is a perfect segue into that because my bold prediction is I think they beat the Chiefs by 2 scores, at least 2 scores. I think they beat the Chiefs by 2 scores. We're seeing the Chiefs, they're undefeated. Obviously, they have Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but a lot of these games, man, it really feels like they're just squeaking through. And I'm not sure that lasts the entire season. There are definite, I don't want to say holes in their game because the offense is still as efficient as it's always been, just without the explosive plays that they're seeing. They're just a really efficient offense, and it's weird because in the running game, they're like last in explosive plays and rushes over 10 yards, but they're like top 10 in rushing EPA. So every single run, it's like it's getting 5 or 6 yards. Yep. So they're an efficient offense, but it's hard to be efficient in that way consistently because without the explosive plays, you have to be perfect down to down. And we're seeing with Vance Joseph, it's damn hard to be perfect down to down against a Vance Joseph defense, although they just gave up 41 to Baltimore. Either way, it didn't happen. I think they beat the Chiefs by 2 scores. And part of the reason why I think so is because, first of all, I would not have said this weeks 1 through 3 because watching Nix against pressure and against these different blitz looks, I would have thought he was going to get killed back there. But what we've seen the past 3 to 4 weeks from Nix and his willingness to stand in the pocket more and deliver some of these throws and beat the blitz and just the schematics of Sean Payton's offense and the things that I trust him to do against blitzes and against single coverage, I think that they can have a respectable enough day offensively to where the defense can really pull them through here.
Fair enough. So yours kind of is in agreement with mine a little bit, but I'm also still going to take you up on it because it's not all the way. And I have a clear rule here on Let's Talk Broncos. If you're going to throw a bold prediction out there, I'm either going to – I've done it to Zach so many times, Robbie. I'm up right now purely off of talking Zach into thinking that his bold predictions aren't bold enough. Getting them up, and then I take it right there, right at the line of what I want it to be. But no, I'm gonna take it for like 2 scores. It doesn't seem that ridiculous to me, honestly. I think this is possible here. I never want to say a team is worse than their prediction, than their record shows. I hate that I'm even saying that, but they do have a lot of games that could have gone either way. On their schedule here, they've ended up pulling them out, so hard to criticize them at all. By the end of the season, I'm not betting against the Chiefs. That's something that I've come to the conclusion of. But mid-season, I might just bet against the Chiefs. We're not there yet, so I don't think it's terrible. I'm still going to take you up on this, though, Robbie. Going to mine. It's similar to yours in a little bit. You were saying, hey, the defense is going to pull them through. The offense is going to do enough to build that lead. Mine is purely defense. I have the Broncos defense holding them under 20 this next game. That's my bold prediction, Robbie. I just feel like you have a big bounce back game coming this next week after having to play Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the Baltimore Ravens, who I just think at this point in the season, they have a better offense than the Chiefs. I'm sorry to say it. I just think they do. And then this also, if I'm right, is going to lend itself straight into my Lamar Jackson is better than Patrick Mahomes agenda. So I think all of this stacks up perfect for me. What do you have to say about that one?
So that one, honestly, I'm in agreement with you on that one.
Okay.
I think the defense does have a bounce back game in them, and the Chiefs, as good as they've been, whether you think it's a dynasty at this point or not, they always have one of those games in season where it's like, what is this team? They don't even look like the Chiefs anymore. They always have one of those games. And I remember, I believe it was 2 years ago, they lost to Jacoby Brissett and the Colts on Sunday Night Football randomly. The Colts were negative under 500. Chiefs, I think they were undefeated at that point. So the Chiefs always have one of these games, and I think it's going to be next week, especially, they came off an overtime thriller. Denver's coming off a blowout. I really think it's going to be next week, and I think they do get held under 20.
So, all right, cool. I'm glad you agree with me, honestly, because Bree and Zach took me up on it, which means like I feel comfortable that Robbie agrees with me. Like, hey, thank you. I also want to add DeAndre Hopkins posted that stupid picture, man, of Randy Moss and Tom Brady. Bro, I'm so over it with them. He is Randy Moss, but on the Titans. I don't want to hear about Randy Moss and Tom Brady. This is a ridiculous comparison. I hate it. Anyways, I'll move on over to Zach's here. He says Travis Kelce has under 70 yards. He's hit it 4 out of his last 5 games. I'm just thinking of this now. I'm taking this just because of what I think Patrick Surtain, Riley Moss, and the Broncos DBs do against DeAndre Hopkins. I think Kelce's going to have a big game. I don't think it's really in consideration. Travis Kelce is where I think the Chiefs have an advantage here in this game. So I'm going to take Zach up on it. I think he does go over 70. What do you got to say?
Yeah, I'm going to take him up on it as well. Just the nature of the Broncos defense, so many of the coverages that they run, they're going to send these pressure packages and they're going to run cover one behind it. And while we trust Surtain and Moss, that inside is where it gets shaky. And, with PJ Locke not being all the way healthy, and Brandon Jones is a good player, but Travis Kelce, even this late in his career, he's still a damn good player, and he's going to find those spots. It's going to be against man coverage. He's going to get matched up against guys who are smaller than him. He's going to outbox them. He's going to have those annoying-ass Kelce catches all game that the Chiefs always get. It's just going to be one of those games. So I think Kelce goes over 70.
The stuff you can't even design, man. It irritates you. Like, it's stuff that when you watch the film, it's like, all right, broken play. Damn, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes on the same page again.
Yep.
There it is. It's every game. It's terrible. How much of the early season stuff, Robbie, it felt like this towards the tail end of last season as well, where people were throwing the Travis Kelce is washed accusations out there. How much of this is just like Travis Kelce is regular season football? When the playoffs roll around, it's going to be Travis Kelce. How much of you think that is a thing?
It's weird because to start the season, I was one of those people. I was like, man, it really seems like Kelce's slowing down. And not only because of the statistics, but you can just see it a little bit on tape. Like, he's never been a great blocker, but he always had effort in it. And to start the season, he just not checked out, but he just didn't look the same as he always has. And in the passing game, they were getting those little connections on those soft spots in the zones and those backyard football plays, but it wasn't for the big plays, and you weren't seeing as much of the yak as you usually do with a Travis Kelce. But for the last 4, 5, 6 games, we're seeing more of the regular Kelce. So I think he's back, man. I really think he's back. I think he's going to carry this all the way into the playoffs, and he's going to have one of those vintage Kelce games in the playoffs. Hopefully not against us, but just one of those vintage Kelce games.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and it's like I agree because that totally makes sense to me. I literally saw this last year with him too, and then to go along with that, I have a very strict ideology here, and it goes one. If you think the Chiefs are going to lose, they're not. Like this is just all to save my mental health, right? If you think the Chiefs are going to lose, they're not. That player in free agency, he's a Chief. You see him, you see a player on the trade market, you're like, yeah, but the Chiefs got him. Like,
Yep.
this is what I do to save myself. So Travis Kelce is gonna have to prove me wrong before he's bad. That's just how I'm gonna look at it. Moving on to Breeze. This one I think is the boldest prediction. Maybe out here. Breeze says Samaje Perine. This is Samaje Perine revenge game. Okay. It's a revenge game. He scores 2 touchdowns against the Broncos here, Robbie. This is about as terrible as it gets because that means that I said that they're going to score under 20. If Samaje Perine scores 2, they got to have touchdowns somewhere else. So it's breaking my bet. It's probably breaking your bet. And then also we're going to look like idiots. To the media is going to report this like we just cut Primeberry Sanders. So, what do you got to say about this one?
I'm gonna take her up on that one. I'm definitely gonna have to take her up on that one. Samaje Perine, it's funny because me and Frankie talk a lot about it on Full Field Read, where Javonte Williams is getting into this arc of his career where he's turning into Samaje Perine. He's a very, very good pass blocker. You're not seeing as much of the explosiveness in the run game, and he's a willing pass catcher. And I think it's not a bad thing to be a Samaje Perine type of guy because, he's had a really long career relative to running backs when you look at it. But 2 touchdowns against the defense, hoping to bounce back. I don't know, man. Even against the Ravens last week, they didn't, do great on the ground, but their losses were in the air against Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers. So I'm definitely going to take her up on that. I don't think Samaje gets 2 touchdowns against us, and I don't think that they're going to have a good game in general on the ground.
Right, Robbie, I'll be honest with you. If he has 2 touchdowns against us, it's bad news. I'm looking at his game logs. I didn't even look at this before. I mean, he's had 0 carries in the last – or wait, no. Okay, he's had 1 carry in the last 2 weeks. 3 carries in the last 3 weeks. If he scores – 2 touchdowns against us is bad. This is Andy Reid doing the Dentari Poe pass over the goal line all over again. This is what that is. So we're taking them up on this. And then that's done with the Bolds. I think Robbie and I are going to come through with an undefeated record on this one. Just to digging Zach and Bree deeper in the grave because I'm up. To anyone that doesn't know, Zach's not going to steal it from me this time. For you, those that don't know, we had a whole year-long Zach claiming that he won until I had to go pull a podcast up from 2 years prior to prove out. Anyways, so you're speaking to a winner right now. And Robbie's going to have a lead too on him. So let's move on to score prediction. This is another game we have going on. Robbie, where do you rank on the score predictions list right now?
Listen, I was winning the whole thing, and they just stopped it. I think I'm 6th, 7th. Who's counting?
With Zach scoring stuff, we don't know. We don't know. When I saw Mario middle of the pack and he didn't get a single game right, it was rigged. It was rigged. He has this whole math equation, getting like everything right. I don't know what's happening out there though. Like the fan vote will be above me, and I have no clue.
Right.
I'm middle of the pack right now. I'm 1 above the fans. To anyone listening right now, get your score predictions in here. It's a close one though, so I think Robbie, if you nailed it this week, you could climb up the ladder pretty easily. So what's your score prediction?
Definitely looking to climb up that ladder, but this game, I'm feeling a 26-14 Denver. That's my score prediction.
Woo!
I think
love it.
I think they get to 26. I think they have, one of those games offensively where it starts to look like the offense is clicking and they're finding their stride. And it looked like they were doing that for the last 3 weeks, with the exception of the Baltimore game, which was just a weird game all around. So I think they, kind of pick up on the steam that they lost Sunday.
I like it. I like that one. You might get up with that one if I like that it, sometimes I come on here and I forget my bold prediction and it just completely goes against my score prediction. So you got that right. Everything's making sense. It's aligned. Mine is going to be, I'm deciding between two right now. You know what, screw it. I'm going to go 21-18. Crazy score. That's what I'm going with. And I just want to get close. That's my goal right now. I need to be one above the fans. If I lose to the fans this year, it's going to be bad. Sean has 17-10. Shout out to you, Sean. Samuel Castro chimes in. He says, "What's up, Joey? Go Broncos." Score 28-27 Broncos win. I like it. That's a good score, too.
I'm loving the optimism.
What was that?
I'm loving the optimism.
I'm loving it, too. I'm loving it. I saw some of the score predictions in the Broncos group chat. It wasn't looking as great as ours. It was not, which is good. The graphic always scares people. Bree, she has 23-10 Kansas City for this one. So that's not looking good. And Zach has 23-16 Kansas City wins in this one. This is the downfall of Zach Seegers. This is what you're getting at right now. He keeps scoring himself number one, and we need it to end.
We got to build some alliances or something, man. Yeah, something's got to give.
I need Hammer to come up with a better equation on how we get this done. I know there's some sort of collusion going on with the scoring. It makes no sense. But anyways, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate all of you. Like I said at the beginning of it, I've been talking to Robbie for years, and I'm telling you right now, the best pound for pound quarterback analyst, and probably X and O's guys. Him and Frankie rivalry each other. So like that's why it's so awesome to have him on a single show. If you guys don't check out Full Field Read, I do not know what's wrong with you. You're a lunatic. If you're into the Broncos, if you're a Broncos junkie, you're sitting down and watching film with Robbie and Frankie who have it all game plan. They've already watched the plays. They have notes on all these plays. Now they're going over it live with you guys. You guys are able to chime in, give your opinions. It's an awesome show. So make sure you guys check that out every single Friday. Shout out to you, Robbie. Thanks for joining me tonight, and go Broncos.